strapping on with ease. Porch lay bare under moonlight stare. No gift to unwrap, only cooled air. Holly wreath hung on the door. Joy is missing, peace no more. Snowflakes fall to the ground, no presents found, only sorrow sound. Who took the joy from McKenny's heart? Left him in shadows, tore him apart. Christmas dreams stolen so quick, only tears left, memories tick. Neighbors whisper, stars so bright, flicker hope in the darkest night. McKenny waits, eyes full of fear. Holiday cheer vanished, replaced by tears. Lanterns glow, but the heart's dim, wondering where Christmas has been. Tree still standing, lights aglow. The warmth it seems forgot to show. Through winter's chill, sparking nights, friends gather round, set all to rights. They bring light to McKenny's eve, with love and cheer make him believe. Who took the joy from McKenny's heart? Left him in shadows, tore him apart. Christmas dreams stolen so quick, only tears left, memories tick. Who took the joy from McKenny's heart? Left him in shadows, tore him apart. Christmas dreams stolen so quick, only tears left, memories tick. Neighbors whisper, stars so bright, flicker hope in the darkest night. McKenny waits, eyes full of fear. Holiday cheers left, memories tick.
What are they, dude? I need my Talkin Schmit, man.
Hey, right outside Deacon Dave's Christmas light extravaganza. I'm Schmitty, and this is Talkin Schmit. This is the last episode of 2024, marking 6 years of podcasting. And yes, after a little hiatus, I'll be back in 2025 to head into season 7. Today, a real cool and unique episode with longtime skateboarder Judi Oyama. For this interview, I drove over the hill to her home in Aptos, and we sat down in her backyard hut and discussed her slalom career, graphic design work, and much, much, much more. Before we start, I do want to thank everyone that tunes in, and especially my guests that have taken the time to share their stories here on my platform. It's been an incredible journey, and I can't wait to continue with you all. Also want to give a major shout out and thanks to Shane Mednich, who has led his SMFM music program through the entire year at the end of each episode. And in honor of SMFM 1 year completion, I made a SMFM tour long sleeve shirt with all the band names on the back. Available now at talkinschmit.com/shop. We're available on all platforms podcast-wise in the audio world, and we also are available video-wise on YouTube. So check us out wherever you prefer and hit subscribe, and you'll be notified every time a new episode comes out. Last but certainly not least, I want to thank my advertisers, Magic Mind, Blue Plate, and my day one, Blood Wizard Skateboards. Blood Wizard Skateboards. If you're interested in advertising in 2025, do not be shy. Hit me with an email at talkinschmit@gmail.com and let's get you involved. I want to send a happy New Year's to everybody. Please be safe out there. Here's our wizards with a little tickety tack, and hopefully we'll have some new spice for 2025. And then on to our guest, Judi Oyama, kids. Cheers, y'all. Big love. Blood wizard. Blood wizard. Blood wizard. Blood wizard. Shop.bloodwizard.com.
Tickety tack.
Hey, it's Corey at Blue Plate, 3218 Mission Street. Come see us. Meatloaf, fried chicken, deviled eggs, Dollar Olympia beers. We're here every day of the week. We got a garden and we got smiles on our faces. Come let us make you happy.
Concrete playgrounds where the heroes rise. Every trick tells a tale of the blood in the skies. Rolling thunder wheels spinning around. Every fall, every rise, every inch of ground. From the boardwalk to the downtown grind, legends speak out tales one of a kind. From the ramps to the rails, can you feel the heat? Talkin Schmit podcast where the skate world meets. Talkin Schmit, we keep it real with the legends of the deck and the scars that heal. Skaters talk their stories, tales from the streets on the Talkin Schmit podcast where the legends meet. Where the legends meet. Where the legends meet.
Hello, this is Judi Oyama, and you're listening to Talkin Schmit.
A little bit of intro.
All right, we're Talkin Schmit.
It's cool. Like tonight is the night.
I guess we're dancing now.
You're gonna be
Talkin Schmit, dude. People started showing up.
I wouldn't say it was fun.
What do you mean, bro? Christian Fletcher's younger brother.
Fuck the Dodgers.
Big dog's in. What do you think, Ollie?
We on? Schmitty?
That was the worst thing I'd ever seen in my whole life.
Dude, we need a magazine.
I remember that.
What are Yuns doing? Holy cannoli.
Oh, God, the list is long.
Holy shit.
Frisco icon.
What is happening?
Let's hear it for Greg Swift.
Gregory.
Wi-Fi check 1, Wi-Fi check 2.
Yes, now we're back.
Okay, and we're back.
Hey everybody, it's Schmitty, Talkin Schmit. We got another episode for you today. I drove over Highway 17 down into the Santa Cruz Mountains. We're in Aptos, California, and here with me is Judi Oyama.
Hello, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
How's it going?
It's going well.
Okay, good. I got so many questions, so I'm going to try to stay focused.
Okay.
But let's start from the beginning. I know you kind of, you're born and raised here in Aptos or Santa Cruz somewhere, right?
In Santa Cruz by Pleasure Point.
Okay. And so how did the skateboard come to you?
The skateboard came to me, one, watching surfers and people around Pleasure Point, and then it didn't move till Aptos till I was like 3. And my brother making a skateboard and trying it out on the driveways, my first time riding a board.
Do you remember that, or is it way too?
I do remember.
Yeah?
I remember the board, and I remember if you turned too hard, it had the little ball bearings, and that they would just like scatter all over the
Not
driveway.
cased, like,
yeah, and you would have to like chase them all down and make sure you had them all and put them back. It was, not as smooth riding, and it was fun though.
So when we started skating, it was kind of like a punk rock thing to like not play baseball on a team and have your individualism and all that. When you started skating, is it more about like the excitement, the thrill of going fast on this thing? Like what was the feelings inside that you're like, I want to do this, keep doing this?
It was actually trying to conquer, like going a little further, going a little faster, and trying to find parking lots and flat surfaces and some hills. And I kind of went from riding around the neighborhood to riding at the college nearby and the school and the mall that opened up that had like the big parking lot.
The malls were the best.
Yeah. And then I used to ride horses and have a horse, and we used to tie the skateboards on the back of the saddle. and ride up into the new neighborhoods that hadn't been started yet.
Oh.
And there were just the roads, and we would skate, let the horses graze, and we'd skate up and down the roads, and then we'd tie the skateboard on and go for a ride.
So what kind of wheels are you on in the beginning? What are they looking like?
They're clay wheels, and I actually have them. And then Road Rider Cadillacs, and they still were ball bearing. And then Road Rider 2s were the first step of having a enclosed, bearing, quiet, smooth wheel.
And those are urethane, right?
Yeah, urethane.
So what was the big, in your mind, when you went from clay wheels to urethane, what did that do for what you were doing?
It made it, one, you didn't worry about turning too hard and having your ball bearings fall out.
Gave it a little more grip?
Yeah. You didn't have
the
that that sudden stop, because you know with the, I don't know if you rode clay wheels.
No.
But you would get, if you hit a rock, the tiniest rock, it would just stop.
Okay.
And you would just crash.
Uh-huh.
And the urethane just was more forgiving, and it actually would go over little things. And so you didn't have that abrupt stopping, and you didn't have your bearings, your ball bearings rolling out. And it was just quiet and just fun. It was.
Were there sizes for wheels back then?
Yeah, so it started off with the Road Rider 2.
Uh-huh.
And then it had the 4, which is a little bigger, and then the 5, and then all the way to the 6.
Okay.
And the 4s were the ones, and 5s we raced slalom as slalom started picking up.
Right.
And I got to, because I skated with Hutson, NHS would make all different colored and durometers. And I mean, I have some still, that from gray to, there was white, or they had all these different colors, and they would write on the side, you know, what durometer they were.
Oh, okay.
And so then that was kind of their way of testing for the next formula.
Like where it started to where it kind of was like, this is the sweet spot. Where did you get to?
The Blackheart pink wheel was like the sweet spot as far as for when bull riding was still going on and stuff. That was the fast wheel that would go roll over coping, and for rolling in to edges and stuff. That was the wheel that didn't hang up, and it was super fast.
Shout out Blackheart.
Yeah.
Someday you're going to get the nerve to come on the podcast. I know it. It's going to happen. Yeah, talk about, as you're younger, though, you're kind of growing up with the skateboard and stuff, going to school, being probably one of the few girls that's doing it.
Yeah, at my high school, I don't remember any other girls skateboarding back then, but they had a race at my high school. It was like my second or third slalom race. It was at Aptos High. And they had a downhill, kind of a longer run, and then giant slalom. And Hutson started training there. And so he would go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I was going to school. I would just walk to the end of the parking lot, and after school I would skate with him. And that's where we got to know each other, and he coached me a bunch, and then he would take off on the weekend and go to this Colorado, another roadside attraction races, win money, come back, go to La Costa, and there weren't really races for women my age or girls. And so I would I felt like I was in the best shape and really good at slalom, but I had no races to go to. And so I just kind of lived through John racing.
Was he kind of a rock star, or was it not that big?
No, he at the time was had done Signal Hill, had done the stand-up record, and he was the world champion slalom and downhill racer.
Okay.
And then he was NHS's biggest pro rider before Olson and Dwayne and everyone. Slalom was kind of a big thing back then, and then it kind of changed over to bull riding. That's when Olson and Blackheart and all those other riders started getting more involved with the wheel aspect of NHS, and independent came out. And I actually got lucky when Hutson was slalom racing. They came out with the dual suspension trucks, which were like $200 a pair. And I had a pair, and I won them almost every race because it was just really balancing. It was like having
Those were
four-wheel
strokers?
drive. They were Indies.
Oh.
They were in, like if you go to the NHS museum, you'll see them. They have the little swing arms.
Okay, yeah.
And those things worked amazing. They never spun out. And when they were doing the museum or after like Slalom kind of had died for a while, I still had the trucks, but they were like trying to find out who had them and round them back up, and I gave them back. But sometimes I wish I would have kept them.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, is there a preference for your trucks? Are they, because I imagine in the beginning you probably want them kind of loose so you can do that, but like as you go faster, they need to be a little tighter so you're not getting speed wobbles or like.
Yeah, and here I'll show you. I have one. I just happen to have this one with no wheels, so you can see. So this is a brand called Radical. Whoa. They don't even make them anymore.
Yeah.
But there's several companies, Rogue and other companies, that have copied the geometry. Mm-hmm. So this is really turny, and this is more stability and kind of follows. But if you look at it, it kind of is like the old Indies in some respects, because that was the whole idea, was more of a follow truck.
Amazing.
Yeah, and these are like, well, you can't get them. They're like, nowadays these same newer trucks are like $500 a pair.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the board itself has got carbon fiber and laminates. And so they're like $800 skateboards by the time they're done. So they're between the bearings and the wheels and everything. Damn. And that's when, even now when we're racing, we'll start off with let's say a 72 or 74 durometer. We'll start off with a smaller wheel. And then as we're practicing and the day gets warmer and you're getting to know the course, you might go to 75 millimeter and in the front, and basically it's like it's very technical. Mm-hmm. And then there's harder wheels, and we'll race, and basically during the whole day we'll change up wheels. And that's what I want to say we used to do with slalom and downhill, but it's just kind of grown, and now there's more companies making wheels. And
So what was the progression for you? You start working at like a surf shop? Is that the first job, like before you get to NHS?
I actually worked at NHS first.
Oh.
And it was when...
Was that through Hutson or?
That's from a friend of mine. When I was first starting to race, she said, you need to ride for Santa Cruz and meet Novak and Jay. And so then I went to NHS, which was on 41st where the boardroom is. Mm-hmm. And behind that building, in that building upstairs. And I met Rich and Jay and skated in front of them, and they put me on the team. Well, I used to go there so much, I started doing work there. And one of them is, we got, I want to say, ½ cent per stuffing a bearing in a Road Rider 2. So you'd grab a whole box of 2s and you put them out on the table, and you put all the bearings on top, and you had a little tool, and you'd put
and they
the bearings
paid you
in
per,
and you flip them over, put a spacer in, and do the other side.
Oh.
And it was kind of something at the end of the day that we'd all start having like a competition. And this guy Gary Furnish was super fast, and he would. But anyways, I did stuff bearings and wheels. I shipped some of the first Indies, the 88. What is it, 105s or 102s that they had, and 88 millimeter wide trucks, and then I silk screened. I learned how to screen some of the early slalom boards, and I screened Dwayne Peters' stripes and some of the checkers for Olson when his board first came.
You were in there before Friel.
Yeah. He was probably not even born yet.
What was the attitude towards you, like, as far as like being a girl in this kind of mostly men thing? Did you feel like you were treated equal, or did you feel like you were getting like a little softer treatment, or were you getting kind of harassed? Like, what was it like?
Overall, I want to say I was treated really well, but I did have, and not to name any names, but I did have one person tell me, I will never consider you a pro skateboarder because you're female.
What the fuck is that?
And
Wow.
so I think some of the times, I mean, I've had other things told to me over the years, and it actually drives me. Like if someone says something to me, instead of me getting all, I mean, you know, I'll get sad or whatever, but I try to prove them wrong.
I'm the same way. That's how I started this podcast. I asked somebody, I was like, do you think I could do a podcast each week for 52 weeks in a year and have a different guest? He's like, no way. And I was like, watch. Yeah, I understand that. Okay. So who are some of the people that are coming in while you're working there? Are you meeting any of the, like, is there any riders? Is Olson or Dwayne or any of these guys coming by or not yet?
Yeah, well, I remember when Alva came by, and it was one of my favorite stories. He came by the night before the Capo Classic, and Hutson and I had been practicing on this road called Rodale Gulch, and Alva goes, well, is there any place I can go run, practice, And I go, I know a place, and I had a little 53 red VW, and he gets in the car with me, and we drove up the road, and I want to say it's like 3 miles up, and we got to this top and started kicking and going down, and I was right behind him, and I remember he turned around and looked at me, and I was right there, and he just smiled, and I want to say that kind of kept me like, okay, someone feedback, and I like downhill, I like racing, and he was very nice to me, and there was another time, actually, when there was a contest going on, and this is where you get dubbed or duped. Alva, Olson, and Salva were over at Winchester, and my parents had a little 2002 BMW, and they go, oh, will you take us to NHS? We want to go there, blah blah. Go back to Santa Cruz, and I was all in the mood to skate and be over there, but I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool. I'm with these guys. All right, drive back to Santa Cruz with them, thinking, God, this is cool. And then they get to NHS and they want to grab all this stuff and go, we want to go back. I was just like, I went home. I was just so mad.
Oh my God.
And they didn't want to go back with me. They went back with Novak or somebody because of, the team thing or whatever. But I was just like, you guys just use me to get around.
Hey, what do you know? Bing, 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 bing.
These are some of the biggest characters in skateboarding, like Blackharts, Salva, obviously Dwayne, Jay Adams, and those guys, like the pioneers of just kind of like a whole different breed of a human. Like, how would you describe them? Like, you go to high school, these are normal boys. Yeah. You get in the car with these guys. Like, is it just chaos? Like,
it wasn't chaos. They were gentlemen, super nice to me. I mean, actually, David Hackett, Olson, and Alva, because we actually bought my parents' house that I grew up in. But my husband's a contractor and goes, I'll remodel it so it's not the same.
Ooh.
But they came over one night. I don't remember how they got here or whatever. And I had my albums out, and I was embarrassed because I had Saturday Night Fever. But I had like the Jam and Sex Pistols or whatever. I was like, oh my God. And they put that on, and they're dancing in my house. I'm like, I have Alva and Olson, and they're dancing to... So anyway, so I had some fun memories of, being with the different skaters. But I also remember the skaters that would come, and Novak would give them gear, indies or whatever. And I was working at the surf shop, and they would come over and they tried to sell it for cash because they wanted the cash. And I was like, I knew that Novak and them are, giving product for them to use, not just for them to cash it out.
Right.
And at one point, when Jay Adams used to come, I used to hide. I'd hide in the office because they go, hey, Jay Adams is looking for you. I'm like, not here. And I'd go in the office
because he wanted you to give him a bunch of stuff.
No, he'd want to sell me the stuff that he got from NHS. And so he was always really nice and sweet, and we were friends, and we skated and stuff, but I just remember there were certain skaters that I would just hide from.
Did you ever meet Peggy Oakley?
Yeah, I did. Because
I heard that you were, a lot of times, at least early on, you were getting...
No, I still get it.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just like, I think because they see Japanese Asian skater, they just assume Peggy, you know. And we've met a couple of times, and that's funny because, like, I would, on Instagram, whatever, people would tag me on pictures of her, or they'd tag her on me.
Oh.
And finally, I used to say, no, that's me. And then I just stopped. And then now she says, no, that's Judi. So it's kind of funny.
Huh. Okay. How do you get into like graphic design and the silk screening and that stuff? Like your artistic approach, is that kind of like all together as a package? Like it's kind of helping you as an avenue into this as well? Or was that just a whole separate thing?
So I've always been into art and graphics and different things, and went to school studying graphic design. Actually got in the fine art department, but then looked over at the graphic design illustration. I go, I like that because you're actually going to get paid first. You're not going to wait in a gallery. And when I worked at the surf shop, I did some graphics for NHS, and then I met like Bob Hurley when he was running Billabong. And I got work with him, and I airbrushed surfboards at night, and I did art that way, and did the window displays at the surf shop, and their t-shirts and ads. And so it kind of, I went to San Jose State, and at the end I was telling my friend Russell Young, who was a mentor teacher, I said, well, I guess it's time to get a job over the hill now, thinking, you know, I've got to get a corporate job. And he's all, why are you going to do that? You already have all these connections. Why don't you start your own business, and I'll mentor you, and if you have any questions, I'll help you. And so I actually opened a business at the sash mill downtown Santa Cruz, and he was going to help pay a third of the rent and for the first year or whatever. And I had a desk and art table ready for him to move in. And he said, I'm not going to move in. I just was trying to help you out. And so, and then I was able to start my business. But one of the big projects was with Billabong. They wanted to get an ad in Thrasher, but there was like a 1.5 year long waiting list.
Yeah.
And so I flew down to LA with like actually some artboards I still have. And I did a presentation to Bob Hurley about ads and some clothing ideas. And my goal was to leave with a check and a year's worth of work. And he gave me a check and a year's worth of work. And that's what kind of started my business. And then I got EA Sports, a Skate or Die, did their ads.
Oh, really?
And another guy, Don Transit, connected me. And then that's kind of where Bryce did a photo shoot and sent me a picture with the Skate or Die sticker. And it was this kind of like tying in my skateboarding and my design. And I did surf stuff, and I went into working for like Rock Shock and Giro and Zero Motorcycles, and I worked at CrossFit headquarters for a while. I like CrossFit so much. I designed a logo for some one that had CrossFit Aptos, and the COO of CrossFit was one of the owners. And then he asked me, would you be interested in doing work at headquarters? And they had a job opening, which they had 104 people apply for. And I didn't get the top job. Someone else got it, but he didn't want to move. So then they called me back up. Hey, you want? So that's how I got it.
Wow.
And that was fun. That was one really fun job.
So you were showing me some stuff earlier. Is that when, like, you got the ad of Bryce doing the wall ride at, I think it's 16th and Mission in the city, the Bart Tranny Brick Bank thing over somebody, and you tweaked the logo or something? You were saying, I didn't understand. With the Xerox, you just kind of like...
Yeah, there's a copy machine, the Xerox, there's the brand name. And basically I stuck their logo on it and I spun it. And so it kind of gives it a warped feel and texture. And I actually... I did Burt Lamar's Look snowboard stuff. And when they were in a sales meeting in Hood River, I get a call saying, we need another design. And I just happened to have like this marble shoebox in my office. And I ran over to the copy machine and I just stretched it with the machine and tore it and did all this stuff. And I faxed it. This is fax time. I faxed it up to them and they go, we love it. And it was the blue marble board that was popular for him. And then they did like fabric and duffel bags and headbands. But, you know, it was kind of like working under the gun and being creative and having fun. So.
Okay. And skating Winchester, like I heard something that you mentioned about most of the places you went had roll-ins, so you never really learned to tail drop in. What were the sessions like back then? Was it like a ghost town? Was there just like, there's Blackhart, there's Cab, there's like, you know, you could see 5 people, or did it get heated?
It got heated, like especially like on warm summer nights. Mm-hmm. There was like Peter Gifford, you know, Blackheart, Keith Meek, just a huge crowd, and then everyone took turns, and everyone was always really cordial and nice to me, even though I didn't like shred. I could still skate pretty good, and that was my favorite bowl, was Winchester.
Winchester?
Yeah, it was like the perfect 10-foot, 8-foot transition, 2 feet vertical that they've never been able to recreate.
Right. What was it like seeing some of the other people's ability? I mean, Blackheart rolling in maybe for the first time in that era, and like seeing people get like higher above the coping and these things start happening. Like, is that inspiring you, or is that kind of like, maybe I'm going to do more slalom?
Yeah, well, so it inspired me. I actually used to do frontside air on the washboard and low. I actually broke my ankle doing it because I thought I could pull it off, and then I smacked and crashed. But I used to do like carb grinds, axle grinds, and air, but I wasn't like when it started transitioning to hand plants and inverts and stuff. I knew if I didn't learn that I was never going to get like way high up in competition. But I actually just had a bad, and I don't bring it up very often, but I had a bad experience with judging at Winchester, to where one other woman serviced all the guys by the end of the week, and I got third by 1 point. And I said I'll never compete in a judged contest, and that's the only reason I went to slalom, and downhill was a time sport.
Yeah, we used to talk about that as far as the Olympics. Like, these judge sports is like a little tricky. Like, if you have a hill bomb, you know who wins. If you have like a furthest Ollie contest, you know who wins. But when it's like your style versus those tricks, like, it's kind of a little bit in people's mind what is better. Mm-hmm. Not always 100% true.
Because some have better style, some...
Yeah, I mean, Tony Hawk versus Hosoi, right? Mm-hmm. It was like, Tony's doing a million tricks, but Christian's got the great style. Who's better? You might like one, I might like the other, right? Mm-hmm. So those things are tough to, judging. I've always tripped on judging, but usually nowadays they have kind of a formula, so you know, like, I have to hit this many walls, I have to do this many different tricks, and like, there's kind of a formula, but still, it can be like, if you're on my team and I'm a judge, you might do better than that person, right? Yeah. Like, there's politics involved.
Yeah, there are politics, and I mean, I always like park riding and like, I wish there was like bank slalom races, or, you know, that's why like ditch races are kind of fun these days.
Right. Well, I was gonna say, like, so are you here you are here, Soquel, that weird banked little park that was on Soquel?
Yeah.
Did you didn't skate there?
I skated there. Actually, I cried when they first opened that park because it was so bad.
Oh, really?
It was like the moon.
You're like, yeah, park.
I was like, I remember, I mean, it was nice having a park in town. I mostly rode the little freestyle mogul area. But all the transition, the roughness of the concrete, it was just like the moon, and I just continued to go over the hill. Did you cry more or less when Derby opened? I was happy with Derby either way, yeah. Okay. But for me, it was a little hard to ride. It was a little rough and kinky, but I think it's better now, seems like. Derby's just always been like the spot.
it's kind of like Pier 7 in San Francisco, where you just come, meet up, eat, talk, skate a little, but like maybe you're moving on. But yeah, Preston and I, when we would come over, Preston would always be like, hey, I can't go to Santa Cruz without going to Derby. So we would always, every time we would go there, at least for a couple rolls.
I cut my teeth at Derby.
Let's talk about the Capo Classic, though. I mean, that is just such an iconic event. It's in your backyard. I've talked to Keith Meek about it and other people, but like, from your perspective, like, how exciting is it coming, and then like your role in it and everything?
It was, for me, one of the really fun races. I actually rode the first contest and was the only girl in the contest, and I got like middle of the pack, and I beat like Dwayne and Alva's times only because I was on like this on a downhill board and they were on park boards.
Okay.
So they didn't have a chance as far as riding that fast on that. And then I want to say the second year they had a women's event that I've talked about, where at the very end I got beat because they took Hutson's wheels and put on my teammate's board. And she, on the last run, right at the finish line, she beat me. And I brought it up at the Santa Cruz video that she like came up to me or talked to me and said, I've never considered that winning that race like 30 or 40 years later. But she did, And then then the next year they made it invite only. And they said, and I talked to Novak. I said, I didn't get invited, and I've ridden it twice because we got to talk to the promoter. Well, I'm not going to say who. And I called him up because when a chick can go down the hill, it doesn't look as gnarly. And so I didn't get to race. But there's actually a little clip of me in the video of the Capo Classic because Novak and them had me help sign all the men in. They were trying to get me involved, and I just looked kind of. But years later, I talked to the same person, and we were gonna help do a Capo Classic together. That would be more street,
right?
And he goes, "I'll get P-Rod there," and blah blah blah. But then he passed away.
Oh, okay. So was the slalom on the same street as the like Hutson and the ramps and stuff? It was the same
road.
Okay. Were you there for that stuff too, like Gons and all those guys skating?
I watched. It was really fun. It was cool. I mean, it was so packed. You ever see those pictures of how many people were watching that?
So more recently, I've driven over there and with somebody that lived down here, and they're like, "This is," because I never knew. I knew it was down here, but I didn't know where. They're like, "This is where it was," and I mean, yeah, it's gonna be like. It's packed. It's got like, and you're just there's not a lot of space. What did that do for the community down here? Like, I mean, obviously Santa Cruz is a big surf town, but skateboarding's blowing up. Novak's got NHS. All this stuff's happening down here in skateboarding. From my perspective, when I come to Santa Cruz, it seems to be one of the more territorial cities. San Francisco's a little like that, but not as much like down here. And me and Meek were talking about it. It's like all from surfing, because it's like, don't come to my spot. I can only catch these waves, and I don't need 30 more people on these waves. But was there some like angst versus skateboarding and surfing, or was everybody just like, this rules?
Surfing is different. I mean, in this town, it's very competitive and territorial. But I think everyone was just like, oh, cool, we're getting to take over the street. And they were into it. And I don't think there was that same competition. Though, like the Aptos contest, I remember there was like the Sacramento guys came and there was the Santa Cruz guy. There was a little bit of that competition as far as where you were from. But the Capitola, I think everyone was just super happy at that. And I actually was going to try to run another downhill slalom like event, and went to the city council, talked to the different the businesses to get their approval. The mayor walked me up and down the street, but it needs to be paved, and it's not on their list. Even though it's like alligator, so you really couldn't have a contest even if you tried.
Oh man, There was that one in San Francisco that kind of goes around by the clam house out by the ocean, and there was hay bales and stuff. Were you at that?
I wasn't at that.
Okay, I always saw that in video. I just wonder about San Francisco. Did you go up to the city much? Like, did you interact with Fausto and Eric at all?
I only saw Eric and Fausto on Fridays. They used to bring deliveries of indies.
Down here?
Yeah. So I remember every Friday they'd come in their truck with a couple of boxes of trucks, and we'd bring them in and ship them out that week. And then Jay and Rich would go do something with Eric and Fausto. And that was the most I saw them. And then I was fortunate enough to go with Jay, Rich, and Doug Howe in the Mercedes to Newark when Blackheart did the roll-in that one night on Indies, and Fausto and Eric and everyone was there.
Was that the first ad?
Yeah, jumping off, yeah.
That was Jake's favorite picture. Like, that's what inspired him to say roll in or get the fuck out. Like, it was like Blackharts, roll in that Indy ad, that one. Oh man, you were there.
I was there.
And what's that like?
It was cool. It was like,
are people
wow.
kind of like too cool for school, or are people just hyped? Like, is Fausto getting fired up?
Yeah, no, Fausto was excited, and Eric, and I know a bunch of different people from NHS were there, and Blackheart just was rolling, you know. I think it was a really cool experience.
What do you think of Blackheart? Does he acknowledge you? He's probably one of the crazy, like...
Yeah, no, he's always been really nice to me.
Has he?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's a lot of big talk, but he's very kind. And
yeah.
And he actually did some slalom with us when we were skating over the hill. And just, you know, was just great to skate with. He was... I know when guys come, he changes a little bit, you know, but he's quite sweet.
He's quite comedy. Like, when I first started working at Thrasher, it was him and Fausto, and man, they were just, you're like, whoa, this is not like any other job I've had, like, giving the business to each other. Did you ever get to see Bombora?
No.
Okay, that's always been one of my, like, oh man, that's in our area. I would have loved to have checked that out.
Well, and I did skate Daharo Street when they had the Red Bull luge race. We did a little demo, and I remember I drove out there by myself. It was like 8 in the morning, and I turned up the street, and I'm like, oh shit! And they set up a ramp while the lugers took lunch, and we did a little slalom run. And then we got to foot brake and stop. And I remember I stopped and I looked, and there were police on each side holding the cars that were going like this, waiting to cross. And then we also did a race on, I want to say McFerrin Street, or in this park. That was...
Oh, McLaren.
McLaren.
Yep.
And it was a giant slalom. And 2 or 3 guys came up from LA. And they were like, we're not doing this. I want my money back, because it was so gnarly. And then Lynn Kramer, who's 17-time world champion, I had just started racing with her, and I didn't really know her. And she's starting to warm up. I'm like, oh, she's going to do it. And so I'm warming up. And we raced. She got first, I got second. At the end, she goes, I wasn't going to do it if you weren't going to do it. And I said, I wasn't going to do it if you were. We both weren't going to do it because it was so gnarly.
Yeah.
But since we didn't talk to each other, we did it, you know. And so
feeding off each other.
Yeah, just like, if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it.
What's your process when you get to a new hill? Do you walk up it, look at it? Do you go halfway up and come down? Like, what are the steps to, like, actually doing it?
I always, even at a slalom race, I always go all the way up. Or if I'm at the top, I always go all the way down. And I always like, what is the braking like? Because usually the hill is not the challenge. It's how to stop.
Uh-huh.
And the McLaren, was it McLaren?
Yeah.
That was super steep. Like, at the top, you couldn't see the bottom because you kind of came over the crest. And it was super rough. And then it turned.
Oh, I know.
And then basically, you had to try to squeeze out by the bike path or whatever if you couldn't stop. And there was a couple people that crashed and, you know, got concussions and almost hit poles. And basically you had to turn and foot brake. So you're like going around the corner with one foot and trying to put your foot down. And also they had a van with downhillers in it, and sometimes you had to squeeze between the van at the bottom and the curb.
Whoa.
So a lot of times it's
sketch.
Yeah. And I mean, I've seen some of the worst crashes at the bottom. Not like while you're racing, you're fine, but when you get past that finish line, you have to put your foot down.
Huh. You would think they would have some, like, I don't know, like an air thing that, I don't know.
I've been to a few races where they've had straw hay bales at the end.
Uh-huh.
And, you try to stop and then you hit the hay bales.
Oh,
But,
or just like a up ramp or something. I don't know.
Sometimes they try if they, ultimate is if they have a downhill that kind of goes up a little bit at the end, but you can't always pick the roads. And
so I'm pretty sure the McLaren Park, if it's where I think it is, we did a King of the Road challenge there, where there was 4 guys, each one is on a skateboard that has a toilet seat planted on it, and they're sitting on it, and they bombed the race. And Heath Kirchart took a spill, and the toilet hit him in the head, and everyone was just like, "Oh, this was a bad idea."
Oh, no.
Because it's a sketchy zone. So you had a hand in like helping Keith Meek and Dwayne get involved with Santa Cruz and Indy, is that correct?
I kind of was always on the radar or the lookout for athletes or skaters, and I actually used to, Caballero used to ride for Santa Cruz. I helped Scott Foss get on there. And I would come back from skating over the hill and I'd kind of report to Jay and Rich. I go, this guy is really good. And I actually came back over the hill when I knew Stacy was going to take all the riders, and I had been telling NHS for 6 months, you need to give these guys boards, but they had another person that I don't want to say was the team manager. And I'm like, you're going to lose all those kids. And they did.
And those were the 2 big companies when I started skating, was Santa Cruz and Powell, and they were the 2 companies making videos, and it was like, one is one way, one is the other way, and you kind of like, some people, again, it was kind of pick your guy, who's your guy. And yeah, interesting. I always wondered about, because Tommy Guerrero, he started skating transition and stuff too, but he's he's known as a street skater and everything. But the Winchester sessions, I would love to be able to just go back there for a week and kind of check them out and see like all the different things that are going down. When people are learning, in the early days, new things, nobody's ever seen this before, as opposed to I'm just doing it better. I love that,
I always remember when Caballero first started skating, I'm like, don't worry, you'll get better. Because he was like practicing in the peanut bowl. And in 6 months, he's like pro. But he would learn a trick. Anytime a pro came through, before the pro left, he would learn their trick. And so, like at contests or whatever, someone would do something, he'd go to the washboard, practice it in the peanut bowl, and then next contest he's got almost every trick that someone brought to that park.
Just naturally gifted. Stevie's got such the style too. He makes everything look proper. So obviously 2024, almost ending now. You've seen a lot through all these years. Obviously we're not perfect, but girls skateboarding has grown a lot. What do you think about like Nora, Lizzie Armano, some of these girls that are like getting their own shoes? They're actually on legit teams. Like, I mean, I started filming the girls. I say this all the time, so people are like, we don't want to hear this story. But it's like when I first started filming girls contests, there was like 4 or 5 girls. The rest were barely grinding. And then like a year or 2 later, everyone's blasting airs, doing inverts. Like it was really like, wow. And it's grown since then. Like, back then, Mimi Noop had the girls company. And then all of a sudden, one by one, they started writing for legit companies. Lizzie writes for Birdhouse, traveling with Tony Hawk. Like these things are like big. From your perspective, being kind of like somebody that did a lot of groundwork. Mofa always told me this one. I love this one. He's like, a lot of people go 65 miles an hour down the freeway. They don't realize that that freeway wasn't always there and straight. Took a lot of like swerving to get from point A to point B when we were, you know. So like, what are the feelings? Is there, obviously you got to be stoked, but in some ways is it like, man, I wish this was this way when we were doing it?
I'm one of the things that I think of now is like, I wish we had all the parks.
Yeah.
And like,
every city
everywhere, like it'd be amazing to have had all the accessibility. It's cool to see the girls and how advanced they are, because I mean they see us and our old pictures, oh, they're just doing a frontside grind, you know, big deal, back wheelers or whatever. And for us that was a big thing, because we went from riding the little tiny boards to the bigger boards. But it's, what I like is that these girls now, and they see how big these errors are getting. So I think they think that's normal. So for them, they see a guy riding, or, you know, they think, oh, I can do that. Where when we were doing it, we were like, oh, we could do this, and that's, you know, it might be lower or whatever. We didn't ever think that we could do that. At least I didn't, you know.
No.
And so I think the expectations are different. The equipment's a lot better, you know, in some respects. They have better transition. They're not riding kinky half pipes that have no coping on them or whatever. I mean, some of the things that we used to ride, people laugh. But no, it's really cool to see all the women riding and the level of riding. Like now, if you don't do a flipper trick, you're not going to be in the Olympics.
Yeah. It's true. What do you think about skateboarding? Actually, this was the second one being in the Olympics.
I thought it was really good. I thought, you know,
Tokyo was surreal. Just like during COVID and nobody there. It was like, oh, this is how it's going to start?
Yeah. It's, I think it's really cool because, one, it's a sport that there's, you know, we were like the bad kids or whatever, the renegades, the people that didn't listen, and now it's respected to be a skateboarder in the Olympics. My one concern, and I've been watching it, is I don't want the sport to be the sport of the rich. That you can afford a coach, you can afford your own ramp, your own park, and not everyone has that. So I like that some of the underdog, you know, if they have to do a fundraiser to get here and they're 9 years old and they win best trick, I like that's still a possibility, you know.
That's a great point. I never thought of that, because some of these people build training facilities to be that, you know, Jagger Eaton or whatever. Like he's got the whole compound in Arizona, and not taking anything away from him, but maybe whatever, Tommy in Nebraska, he didn't have that, and you know, so it is interesting to think of it that way. Do you think that street and the park or the bowls, whatever the two, is that maybe opening up more later? Like would slalom possibly get in it, or what do you think? Is there not enough? To me, like when I watch the Winter Olympics, favorite thing is bobsledding and luge. I like to and then air of the skis. Like I want to see the fast, you know? And so street skating, as popular as it is, I don't think it does skateboarding a service in the Olympics. It's a lot of trying a really hard trick that no one can understand and not making it over and over. So for the general person in the audience, because I watch it with my wife or my family, they're like, these guys aren't that good.
Yeah.
But if you're just like bombing a hill, one guy versus one guy, you're like, oh man, like that's adrenaline rush. And the park, you know, Pedro Barros, those guys, phenomenal. Like it's great to watch that stuff, and they're pretty consistent. I think slaloming might be interesting to see, like if they could open it up.
Well, the World Skate Games has had vert, luge, downhill, and slalom 2 years in a row. Argentina and Italy.
Oh, that's right.
And that is like the footsteps to getting into the Olympics. And that's kind of why I stayed into it a little bit, because I wanted to help promote it and bring slalom to the mass eyes or whatever, and that's why I like doing stuff with AARP or Roku. Is, you know, they hit a lot more eyeballs.
Right.
And so I kind of feel that vert might get in there first because it uses a smaller footprint.
Sure.
And people can see that, and then downhill's pretty cool because I do a pack of 4 racing men and women.
That I want.
And it's a time sport. And slalom and luge. And then slalom is cool because you see 2 people going down. There's a younger demographic jumping into it. And actually, the Czech Republic and Latvia and Australia and Canada and now Japan and even China is getting into it because we do these cyber races 4 times a year, which is it's 6 feet apart, 25 cones. You have a certain amount of starting. You can only do 3 pushes, and you have to go both directions. And China, like, they did the last few, and when you look at their setups, they have, like, they're taking it serious. And Japan. And so, you know, once they take it on, I feel like it'll broaden the sport in other countries. But Europe has never really stopped doing the slalom, and they're really good at it.
Right, because they have the ski mentality, right? They have all this big hills and snow. What do you think it is about Japan that like sends over Kokona and all these, like, God? The first time I saw Kokona at the combi, she's doing, I think she was 13 or something, she's doing frontside nose grinds around the corner every time. Lizzie and Alicia are like, look at this girl, she's amazing. And I'm like, how? And then, you know, you watch the Olympics and there's all these Japanese girls that are just ripping.
Yeah.
Do you, I mean, any idea on why or how?
No,
is that because they take things more serious, maybe?
I think, well, one, I think that they are relentless at practicing. Like over and over and over and over. And I kind of feel like there's a don't give up attitude. Those are acorns.
We're here outside and we got little dogs running around, acorns dropping. We're doing the whole experience today.
Yeah, so I just, you know, it's funny because people ask me that a lot. What is up with the Japanese? But I feel like it's this dedication.
Yeah. I could see that. I think it was just like, I've never even heard of these girls and they're better than everybody. Like, it was like, whoa. Let's talk about 2018 Hall of Fame. Was that one of like your all-time highlights? Is that a huge deal for you, getting into skateboarding's Hall of Fame? Or
I felt like it was like acknowledging like all the years I've skated, and I really was happy to be there. And I had Dawn Bostic do my intro because, one, I wanted Dawn to be in. I felt like Dawn should have been in there before me because all that he's done for the sport. And he just got in there last year, I think. And there's other skaters like Randy Caton and, you know, that are NorCal skaters that are as well into the sport as a lot of Southern Cal, but because it's based in Southern Cal, I feel like there's a lot of NorCal people that get missed.
Talk to Blackheart about that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of those, and I like the new formula that is kind of like the Oscars, where you get a time to talk, and let's not go 4 days on your like thank you speeches and all that. I think that some of these people, this is a huge opportunity for them to finally like be acknowledged, and some people maybe they have social anxiety and they'd rather just do less of it. I don't know, but I mean, being acknowledged is really cool with all your peers, whatever the case may be. I don't think that you need to think about who isn't in there when you're getting presented.
No, I mean, I was happy to.
Did Don do the intro? Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah. He lives in Boulder Creek or something?
No, he lives in Palm Desert, I think.
Oh, I used to
He used to
see him
live
in
in
Boulder
Aptos.
Creek all the time.
Yeah, he used to live in Aptos.
Oh, okay.
And actually tonight is the Edmund 40th anniversary party
Oh, in Sacramento?
in Sacramento. And
Are you going?
no,
Okay.
Joe Fong is getting an award. And he was going because he knew he was getting an award.
So
And
sad.
So it's really a bummer that we lost Joe.
Yeah, big shout out to Joe Fong, all the friends and family. I just got word of it last week, and they're going to have a private ceremony for him soon that should be great to get the good friends together. But that hit a lot of us like out of nowhere. It was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Just saw him, just talked to him, gonna see him like tonight. He's gonna be honored. Like, I mean, this is so cliche, but just every day matters. Like, tell your friends you love them and don't say no to opportunities you might look back at and be bummed about. I mean, there's always the what ifs, and you're going to get hit with those when a good friend dies. So, yeah, I was sad about Joe. You want to talk a little bit about what you were telling me about earlier as far as like kind of your role in pushing girls and mentoring, and like you're filming a documentary that kind of evolved into you and a younger girl. Yeah, what's all that?
So, over a year ago, I was approached about doing a little documentary on my skateboarding. And it's been going on for over a year. And it was funded originally and still is by the Japanese American Museum in LA.
Oh.
Because of my history of born and raised in Santa Cruz. My parents were both interned in Poston 1 and 2, even though they were born and raised in Monterey and in California. My mom's from Gardena. But basically it was just because I feel like, one, I'd like to bring it up because my parents lost a big part of their childhood, and my mom lost her house, and my grandfather lost his boat, that he was a fisherman. And so they started filming with me, and they actually went to Texas to a race, and they went to Italy for the World Championships. And I have been mentoring and working, skating with Loyola Kahaku, was 15 when she started. Now she's 16. She's half Japanese and Hawaiian from Campbell, and she's a really amazing bull rider. But since she was coming into my life and they were seeing our interaction and they met the family, and Loyola, being a really good park rider, really took on to slalom. And the slalom really helped give her like something that she could focus on. And I kind of wanted, like, I felt like, the Worlds is kind of my last race. I thought Argentina was. And then I ended up getting a 3rd and 4th overall. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not done.
You want to go out with the win?
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I'm wrapping it up. And then I started riding with her and coaching with her, and she actually started picking it up really fast. So then I actually was like, okay, we're going to Italy. So I traveled with the family, and she did really well, and I was happy with my results. And then I've kind of been just coaching with her and staying in shape because I'm riding with her so much, because I'm trying to get her faster and her like to take my position or whatever. And so I'm still skating and enjoying it. And
That's awesome.
And then I've also been working with this young girl, Maggie, who's 14, and she's from Texas, and she's getting faster. And I just, I'm hoping that the sport continues and this new younger generation could take it on, because I feel like slalom is a good balance with park riding and other sports and, disciplines, because I think the next thing that's coming up is more bank slalom, like the ditch slalom, and pump tracks. I don't know if you've ridden them, but pump tracks are another
my
fun discipline that could turn into racing, and I just feel like
it's good cardio.
Everything's opening up. And because when we skated on this bike path on Santa Cruz, we set up like 25 cones and would skate, and then the next week I would get there a little earlier and I'd add 10. And then the next week I'd add 10. And Noelle was going, God, I don't know why, but I'm getting, tired. And I told her, Mom, I'm getting her in shape, And so by the time we were going to Worlds, we were doing over 80 cones.
Wow.
And so then we get to the race and they're 50. No big deal. She's all, oh, that's easy, And so I kind of I've given away kind of my tips, but I feel like my main thing that keeps me in the game is my fitness. Being able to, I work out, lift weights, but I'm able to keep up with these young skaters because I have to work out twice as hard.
Are you doing any of that G1 or whatever, any protein elements?
I've been doing Momentous with creatine and protein powder and a lot of the stuff that Andrew Huberman talks about. How sleep is really important. And weightlifting. I go to CrossFit 4 days a week. And lately I've been swimming on Fridays.
Swimming, water's the best. Man, you don't get, I got pretty bad arthritis up here. Do you have any of that?
I feel achy sometimes in my fingers, and I rolled my ankle about 3 weeks ago, but knock on wood, I've been pretty achy free, And now it's funny because I lift weights and I work out. I feel awkward if I'm not sore. Being sore is normal to me.
I wake up, I kind of wake up in pain. If I could go back in time, I always tell people, I would tell, if I had a kid or if I was me, floss your teeth every day. That's what I learned about. That's really, I didn't do that properly when I was young, and I would change that. As you have gotten older, what things would you go back and change how you did to help you age better? Working out is huge and stretching, obviously.
I think diet's really important.
Diet.
And one of the things that I think, is sugar. I like sugar too, but sugar is really in everything people are eating these days. And I just feel like real food, fruits and vegetables, is just important, and not so much processed foods. If I were to say anything to people, and wear a helmet. And as much as, I know it's frowned upon to wear one, that's what's kept me skating so long. Between riding horses and skateboarding, I've had my share of concussions, and even with helmets on. Yeah,
which would have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Henry Hester? Pretty awesome guy.
Yeah. He actually got me back on slalom when it started up, and I was hearing about it, and I got on the internet and I saw who was skating. I emailed him or something, or called him, because we used to send cards back and forth over the years, and he sent me his Nina, which is his daughter's name, a row slalom board, and I set that up and started getting back into it, and then Rowe sponsored me, Gareth Rowe, and started skating again. So he kind of was like my re-entry to slalom, and he's very supportive, and it's fun to communicate with him and stuff.
So what was his deal? How did the Hester series do you know about that?
Well, he was, he rode for GNS, and he rode Road Rider wheels, and they made a Hester wheel. It's like a cut 5, I think, a Park Rider 5. And he was competing with Hutson, but they wanted, to sponsor him because he was also a world champion and a good rider. And so that's how he kind of got involved with the whole Santa Cruz thing. But he was, I want to say, more a track rider than he was Indy.
Oh, probably got a little looked down upon in Northern California.
He didn't turn his...
I love, man, did you see some of that? You must have, right? The NorCal, SoCal beef, just the attitudes of if you're not riding Indy, get the fuck out of here, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I remember, I remember when the Indies first came. I remember watching who got delegated the wide truck first, and Olson was always on top of the list. Blackheart, even though he complained a lot. You know, I mean, I think they offered him part of Indy, and he took a box of trucks or beer. I don't remember, but he's been around a long time.
Yeah.
But it was cool to see the whole progression, you know, because like stroker trucks, they were pretty burly, you know, but they turned. But it was cool to see the combination of the Indy and the stroker as far as some of the technology. But like the Indy was basically the tracker and the Bennett. The Bennett turned, but the tracker was strong. Is kind of my feeling of what it was.
Okay. And then recently, not super recently, but you did come out with that Santa Cruz video. What was that like? Did you do that with Joey Didge?
Yeah, Joey and
buddy
Alex White.
Oh yeah.
And she's the one that was her kind of idea.
Okay.
And I was like, who's gonna be interested in an older skateboarder? And it's actually their number 5 most watched video. It's like 670,000 views.
Neat.
And I'm all, yes.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. You know, they came here, rode the ramp a little bit. We did garage racing in San Jose.
Oh.
Didn't get kicked out. But
Nice.
yeah.
Like down the.
Yeah.
That's
And actually,
so
like
fun.
Cliff Coleman and Jamie Hart and this big crew of riders
Okay.
are doing it.
Do you get people to send you shoes or anything these days?
I do get some product. I got Vans sent. Actually, they supported the whole USA Slalom team, which was great.
Yeah.
And I do get S1 has been a great sponsor with safety gear, and Skate Kings with boards and wheels. And Bronson and Mob. I've been very fortunate over the years.
Shout out to Gavin DeNike.
Yeah, and Novak that's put up with me.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they sponsored me when I was 16, and anytime I want boards like this one, I need to set up.
What do we got?
This is my next park board.
Oh, this is Winkowski's board, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So, anyways, they take good care of me, and that's my next board.
Is there anything that I haven't kind of brought up you want to touch on?
No, I think you covered everything. My big thing is I want everyone to be kind to each other and just be appreciative that you guys have all these parks to ride and be nice.
Speaking on that, because I feel like I'm a little younger than the people that I'm probably speaking on, but we talked about how like the attitude and everything early on was so kind of gnarly and all that stuff. I mean, Indy stopped using the Iron Cross because of things. What would you say to somebody that, like a Dwayne Peters, that's struggling right now to accept like that people want to evolve and have this be kind mentality and all that stuff? Like, you know why they did what they did, and they did it for so long that it was like, that was a way of being. Like, how do you, what are your thoughts on that?
What's kind of funny you say, Dwayne, because, you know, Dwayne, I met him with Skateboard Mania. He was 16.
Yeah.
I introduced him to NHS, helped get him on Santa Cruz and Indy. But he sent me a really nasty DM and told me some, you know, some ching chong stuff, told me to fuck Novak, and Novak has sponsored him from day one, and I just unfollowed him and blocked him. And you know, a lot of people gave to him, and especially NHS, he would badmouth them, they would support him, and he would apologize or whatever, you know. And there's other skaters that, you know, they bite the hand that feeds them, and then they expect, you know, people to take care of them. And I just feel like, you know, you made your bed. You know, and as much as I feel bad for him, you know, a lot of people gave him a lot of opportunities. And I actually saw him when Vans was doing the Warped Tour up in San Francisco. And it'd been years since I'd seen him. I want to say it's probably in the 90s or something. And he looked really shitty, you know. And I walked over and gave him a hug and a kiss, and he like started crying almost, because I gave him attention, you know, and I just, you know, I had nothing against him.
Yeah.
But if you're going to give me a hard time or send me bad messages, I don't need that. I want only positive people in my life, because I don't have time for negative. And if you're not going to do something for yourself, then that's your problem.
Yeah. I mean, I've firsthand experience with alcoholism and drug addicts and stuff like that, and it's just at some point you kind of have to cut the cord. Like, you love these people, you want to help them and stuff, but like only they can do what they want to do. And I think I kind of learned that through alcohol a lot, where it was like, I mean, I stopped drinking like 8 years ago, and it really helped me a lot. And I'm not preaching, like, I don't have any problems against it, except for just like the people that can't do it. Like, if you can't do it, don't do it. You know, some people can have some wine and live a great life, and some people have to wake up and drink a shot and drink all day, every day, just to survive. And those are two different things. Just this bitterness. Me and Jake used to call it the bitter harvest. The guys that are just salty about what they're not getting and what other people are getting. It's just tricky, I think, having the mindset, like you said, eating healthy, doing these things that's going to help positivity, working out. All of a sudden, you're taking steps in a positive way, and that can lead to just bigger and better things, hopefully. I want to take a spin through some of your stuff. Maybe we can do a show and tell. I can grab my other camera and you can kind of like talk about a few of the things. Sorry if we have to repeat what you've already showed me, but
yeah, no worries. Sorry about that. I thought I'd turn my phone. Oh, I gotta get this.
So this, is this out of the mag?
Yeah, no, this was out of the National Skateboard Review. Used to come out with a magazine or a news kind of magazine every month. And it would have all the contest races and stuff. And when I worked at NHS, we used to use the old copies as stuffing for the boxes.
Yeah.
And then I would cut out, you know, if I was in a contest. And this was the first Capitola contest was my first slalom race with my friend Lisa.
So cool.
My dad took these pictures. That's walking up the hill.
And how old are you around?
16.
This one, I like that photo's cool.
Yeah, like that.
And look at the board right there.
How about the elbow pad? Bandage. Winchester. And then here's Hut, my dad took. Who we just lost. So, I had shown you some...
Can we get real quick, show me the Fausto autograph?
Oh, yeah.
Gotta see this in the Indy book.
I like this one because he wrote this to my son.
Very cool.
What do you think, Talkin?
The drawer.
Whew.
So here's the Bryce. This is actually a stat and hand colored with photo pencils, and this is the Billabong logo that was spun on the copy machine. And then these are little silkscreen practices when this lady Madge used to silkscreen for NHS, and that would be like practice to see how the ink goes, but so they're not printing right on shirts. And then this is a POP piece I did for NHS that was two-sided. When the book came out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm giving you that. And they gave these out there. Oh yeah. The Convention Center, 2005. Oh yeah, this is a friend of mine did that for my birthday. There's a Capitola Classic.
Sick.
And these are my race numbers, and I actually crashed on one of the runs and was wearing these really short shorts, and I slid like 25 feet on my back on the double yellow on that number.
Nice.
And here's from their 50th NHS. These some of the other things they did. The 40th anniversary. Roscop and Hut. And another Indy event. And that's, I think when I got this that black shirt I was showing you. Or this one. Fosto.
That
I
one's
think
so
you would
good.
have liked that.
Definitely. Let's do this photo.
So one of my favorite shots, my friend Mike Goldman took with my camera, because I didn't always get pictures taken because I wasn't like a known skater. So I started bringing my own camera. And I was fortunate enough, my dad's a professional photographer, that he took pictures.
Frontside grind Winchester with Stevie.
He's 14, 1979.
Look at the shorts on this guy.
And this one shot that I didn't see till recently was Winchester by Steve Farrell, who passed away when he was 19. And I met his mom at lunch and their brother, and they brought me a little flash drive, and it had 2 pictures of me and some of my other friends, and this was one of them. And it's pretty funny to remember riding a double with Blackharts. His wheels rocked.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're interested, but I can show you the wheels.
Oh yeah, of course.
These were, that's a Road Rider 4. This is a Park Rider, so they were pretty close. Here's some of my slalom.
Oh, lanyards and stuff.
Yeah. No, they're
Are they?
awards.
Oh, damn.
I know. I need to put them in order and organize. And I actually just got this one.
Oh,
This Classic.
what was that
It was
from?
a giant slalom race in Fair Oaks.
Up by Sac.
And I was the only woman masters. I won $1,000. And Loyola was the only girl or woman, and she won $1,000.
Who do you think, like, not including family and friends, inspired you the most? Like, in skateboarding, like, who did you look at as, like, somebody that, like, when we started street skating, it was Mark Gonzalez and Nodis. Like, was there anyone like that for you?
Tony Alba.
Tony Alba.
Because, you know, we used to see him in the magazine and stuff, and I just liked his style, and I liked that he was aggressive and powerful, you know? I mean, there was, like, the graceful skaters or whatever, and I was never, like, into the handstands or the freestyle. I always liked the bull riding and stuff. And then I liked the downhill, like Hutson. And
Is he still inspiring you today that he's older and still out there rolling around?
Who?
Tony Alva.
Oh, yeah. Because he's 60, I'm 65, he's 67. And I feel like we're like the first generation of skaters that are riding into our 60s. And not just like standing up and barely turning, you know, like actually really riding. So, yeah, he inspires me.
Really cool. Stoked I got to come down. It seems like we've been playing Instagram tag for a while.
I know. Well, I had Roku come through for 3 days, and that was a 70-person.
70?
17 people.
Oh, 17? Jeez.
They sent out the roll call thing the night before. Then they rented the whole skate park for the day, the Santa Cruz one, Mike Fox. But we didn't close it down. I just was asking people, hey, do you mind if we're going to take over here? And they rented a hotel room so we could use the bathroom across the street. And
did you do the mural there?
I did the skate park. That was my public art project. I hired Jimbo to draw the drawing, and we stay in the wave. We had to put a mask, like a $3,000 mask on it, and the paper came, it was $600. And it was 14 inches too short. And the guy, and it was going to make the whitewash this big. I'm like, no. And I called Jimbo. I go, can you come down here and help me out? I think, I have an idea. So I told him, cut the paper in half, and we spread it 18 inches, and I handed a marker to Jimbo, and he just drew in the center. Oh. And then they hand cut the whole mask, a bunch of people. And then the next day, it was actually someone I went to high school and elementary, was the sandblaster, shows up, and they sandblast it, and the mats kind of flapping in the wind. I'm like, oh, because you can't fix concrete.
Right.
And then when they pulled it, I had a key to the park for a month, and I went there with my kids. We're in there sweeping and checking it out, and it was funny because the police came and my son was like, "Is that for?" Because we were leaving, we're across the street, and came with like lights and sirens almost. Pulled up onto the curb. My kids are young. Then they go, "Is that for us, Mom?" I go, "Yeah, let's get out of here." But I did, I skated. I brought Hut there, and actually Keith Wilson came back in because the concrete was kind of dark, like the quarter of an inch or whatever we sandblasted in. And so they asked, "Hey, if we paid you a little extra money, can you brighten it up?" And it was like $2,500, and I just gave all the money to the concrete guy, and I go, "Can you guys do something?" And he made a little mixture that is his own thing, and they hand painted the white in. And it's 2007, and it still looks really cool.
Yeah,
I'm proud of it.
I like that. Get this Indy quote.
Yeah. We keep in contact, and she's really good at supporting myself and Leola and other younger girls.
Awesome.
I want to give you this one poster.
Okay.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Oro Coffee. That's some damn good coffee. Order 1 or 6 bags at orocoffeeroasters.com.
Y'all like music? Because you're listening to SMFM.
What's up? Voila. Hey everybody, it's the last episode of the year, and it's been great. And I've been doing this over at Talkin Schmit for about a year. Thanks for sticking with. Thanks for adding on. Thanks for adding. Thanks for contributing. All right. We're going to shut it down with a band from Los Angeles, California. This band is called Sleep Debt. And don't sleep on them. The song is called No Milk, and I'm going to play it for you right now. No Milk by Sleep Debt from Los Angeles, California, LA, La La Land, Tinseltown, the big La Sleep Debt Band, at Sleep Debt Band. Rumor has it they have ties to Rochester, New York. Rochester, New York. don't go. Until next time, all y'all, send me some shit. I'll see you, on the little screen. You'll see me on the little screen. I'll hear you with the little ear hole. Keep your ear holes open. Don't sleep on Sleep Debt. Don't sleep on SMFM. And listen to Talkin Schmit. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Talkin Schmit. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. When you subscribe, you'll get notifications every Tuesday of new episodes the minute they become available. Also, please leave reviews and a 5-star rating. It's the best way to help the show grow. All of the episodes will always remain free, but if you would like to help support the show, you can do so at talkingschmit.com, where you can pick up some merchandise like t-shirts, beanies, hats, and stickers. The website has an entire archive of all of the episodes, with extra photos and videos. Email us with any suggestions, comments, or ways that the show may have improved your life at talkingschmit@gmail.com. All interviews are conducted, edited, and produced by Schmitty. The intro music is Mary's Cross by the band Nature. A very special shout out goes to the executive director, Sharal Camisa.
Shout out.
Love it! This is Talkin Schmit, where the Rolodex is deep, but the conversation is deeper.
Keep the wheels greased.